Clothes, body checking, and recovery. Let's talk about it. It might sound like a simple topic, but for people in recovery, clothes carry so much emotional weight. Whether you're checking your reflection in the mirror, trying to find the most flattering fit, feeling like you're cheating because you only wear clothes that look a certain way, or asking yourself, can I really wear shorts this summer, or even a top? Do I really like these pants, or am I avoiding tight clothes? But what if I feel horrible wearing skinny jeans? In today's video, we're talking about body checking and the challenge of how to dress in recovery. And let's start to talk about clothes and why they can feel so triggering in recovery. For many of us, clothes have been more than just clothes. They've been a measurement to see if we're still okay or if something changed. Maybe a pair of tight jeans feels like a failure, or maybe a loose hoodie feels like safety. It's not really about the clothes, it's about the meaning we attach to them. And when your body is changing in recovery, which, let's be honest, it oftentimes is, it only makes sense that this can stir up some big emotions. This is totally normal, but we don't want to get stuck here. Oftentimes my clients ask me, what should I wear in recovery? On the one hand, I don't want to teach my brain that something is wrong and avoid dressing a certain way. On the other hand, I just feel like wearing baggy clothes and something super soft and baggy all the time. And I know that this might go against some other people's opinion in the space, but I do think there's a time for everything. And I do think that especially in the beginning of recovery, where you're literally facing so many fears, challenging fear foods, challenging the urge to move, maybe challenging OCD behaviors as well, I do think that it's okay to just wear some big clothes at that time and to just make sure that you're comfy. Oftentimes, unfortunately, we do get bloated when we expose ourselves to more food. We do feel uncomfortable and we think that we notice every single change, even though some of them might still be in our head. So again, at this time, I do think it is okay to just choose some white clothes, something that you feel comfortable in, something that you can breathe in, because wearing super tight clothes, especially from your eating disorder time, can actually just make things way harder when you're already uncomfortable, when you already feel bloated. So again, I think that's totally fine. But there does come a point in recovery where I also want you guys to work on that. Is it really your style? Would you really wear the same clothes if you were not conscious about your body? If you would feel amazing in your body? If you would feel super confident? And normally the answer is no. And that is okay as well. I personally had a very long time in which I had to try out so much from, new clothes size, which can be very triggering, new styles, finding out who I am, because I started to realize that everything I ever wore was also influenced by my eating disorder. Not only because certain sizes I couldn't even buy in the adult section, stuff like this, but also because I had the constant urge to kind of show off my body. And I know that for some people it's the opposite. They try to hide their body. But if we're being really, really honest, our eating disorder has an impact on clothes as well. And we want to break free from that. One thing that I really like people to do at a certain point in their recovery is to start introducing certain clothes again. And I know that sometimes we feel like we're changing so much in recovery, or we don't even know who we are outside of our eating disorder, that even knowing what our style is can feel super, super overwhelming and confusing. And that's okay. Recovery overall is a time of growth, of change, and therefore also of trying new things. So you can try certain things, you can try certain styles. You can always wear accessories, different shoes, different bags, anything that is not connected to your clothes size, but you can also challenge your style a little bit. And what I mean by that is, instead of always choosing the clothes that you feel like are hiding your body the best, or that you feel like, okay, this is the only thing I feel safe in, it's probably time to challenge that safe feeling. Because a safe feeling when it comes to the body is normally kind of like a deal with the eating disorder. We're hiding our bodies, we're not going to show other people our bodies, so the eating disorder is still kind of coming into your life and telling you you can't show your body, you can't wear certain things, and that is where you're giving into the eating disorder again. Every time we're giving into the eating disorder will be fed and will grow and will start to come back louder. And this is exactly why we want to challenge that. One way to challenge it can be to just like try one different item. For instance, if you struggle with showing your arms but it's getting really warm outside, maybe start wearing a t-shirt. And don't only wear it once and then be discouraged because you feel self-conscious, because it makes sense. Our brain works in a way where when we avoid certain things, it automatically thinks that is danger. So of course, wearing the shirt that you avoided wearing for so long will create your brain to think, oh, it's danger. And it might feel wrong. And that is why you have to do it over and over again. The second thing is to not focus on the details the whole time and to not like over-consciously think about, oh my god, I'm wearing a shirt, I'm wearing a shirt, I'm wearing a shirt. And I do know how hard it is, because oftentimes that's an automatic process in your brain. It's like so deep engraved to your brain that it can feel impossible to not think about it. But sometimes we don't even have to not think about it. We have to interrupt the automatic thought process. And this is where a little reminder comes in, a mantra, if you will. And I know that a mantra always sounds super spiritual, and for some people it's hard to work with stuff like this, but I'm gonna explain to you why it can be so important. As I just said, most of our thought processes are very, very automated. We don't even think about thinking, if you will. So picking apart our body, being self-conscious when wearing certain things, constantly thinking of our body, of what other people could think, etc., is an automatic process. So the number one thing is always to be aware, to understand, oh, this is happening right now. And then there's different ways to kind of interrupt the thought process. One way is to just ask a simple question. Something like, is this really dangerous? Would a person from the outside say that me wearing a t-shirt is dangerous? Or something like, so what? And you don't always have to know the answer. That is the thing. We're just asking the question to interrupt the thought process. For some people, it can also be helpful to create a mantra. Something like, challenging the discomfort now helps my recovery. Or, wearing a t-shirt is human. There is nothing wrong with my arms. Anything that helps you. And with a mantra, the thing is, I don't want you to fake it till you make it. I don't want you to say something to yourself that you can absolutely not believe. But it is okay if it feels challenging to believe it. So sometimes neutralizing things works way better than to overly go to the positive side. So instead of, I'm loving myself and I'm so perfect, when this is really hard for you to believe at the moment, saying something like, there is nothing wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with my body. It makes it way more neutral, and it also interrupts the thought process. The same automated process happens with body checking. Body checking is way more than just standing in front of the mirror, even though that's a big part for many, many people. But body checking can happen in any window that you're walking by. It can happen as physical body checking, where you're trying to grab certain body parts with your hands. It can happen with a belt. It can happen with clothes. It can happen on pictures. And oftentimes we're not winning when we're body checking. Since body checking is a behavior closely connected to the eating disorder, it only makes sense that while you're in recovery, you won't win. Your perception of yourself is most likely very, very different. And even though you have gained weight, this does not mean that you're looking horrible the way you perceive yourself. It only means that your body is changing from the very close, very unhealthy standard that the eating disorder had for you. And again, since that was your standard and that was everything you lived up to for so long, your brain learned that anything outside of this is dangerous. So stepping outside of this unhealthy standard and gaining weight, which is the healthiest thing you can do, will make your brain feel like, oh, something is wrong. That can be part of the reason why you perceive yourself so differently. The same thing with body checking as with automated thoughts is that you want to interrupt the behavior. For a lot of my clients, it can be so helpful to put a sticky note on the mirror, whether it's a mantra, something like, everything I'm doing for recovery, something like, why am I body checking, a question, anything that interrupts the behavior. Because what we want to avoid is that you're negotiating with your eating disorder. Whenever you're body checking in order to find out that you're still okay, that you still look a certain way, that things are still okay, that you're not wrong, you're negotiating with the eating disorder. Because a healthy person doesn't have to check their mirror every hour to see if they're still okay. A healthy person can trust the fact that their body is more than okay the way it is. As long as we're listening to our hunger cues, our bodies know very, very well what they want, what they need, and where they want to be at weight-wise. Our bodies know where they are thriving. So constantly checking the mirror and trying to figure out, have I gained weight? Do I still look okay? Is a certain thing that I saw during my eating disorder still there? That is negotiating with the eating disorder, and again, something that we don't want to do anymore. If we go a little bit further even, we also have to understand that a lot of behaviors that we're doing throughout the day teach our brain that there is still something wrong. Whether it is sucking in your belly all the time, whether it is only wearing dark clothes because somebody once taught you that dark clothes make you look slimmer, which by the way isn't even true, but I think we all grew up with certain magazines and learning certain things, and it's so hard to unlearn them. At the same time, it is important to unlearn them. And in order to unlearn them, we have to create space for discomfort. The thing with body checking, the thing with everything related to it, is we don't want to fix it. Fixing it would mean that there is something wrong with you. But we do want to create space for discomfort, because that makes space for growth. So by creating space for discomfort, I mean challenging those clothes rules, challenging to not always suck in your belly, challenging to wear maybe one item that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but wearing it over and over again. That is what helps you to eventually break free. And I do know that it's a long process, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's going to be super easy the first, second or third time, and probably not even the fourth or fifth time. But the more often you do that, the more often you create space for discomfort, the easier it will get over time. If you have been in recovery for a certain amount of time and you've challenged fear foods already, you might have noticed that the first time challenging a fear food, it feels nearly impossible. The second time, it's still super uncomfortable. And even the third time, it's not really easy. But the more you challenge your fear food, the easier it gets. And it's the same with everything. I understand that a lot of people think they are victims to their body image. I've never really liked my body, or I've had my eating disorder for so long, how can I ever accept myself in a bigger body? And again, I really understand that thought process because I had the same fears. I was convinced that I could never accept my body even in a healthy weight range, because even when I was underweight, I still saw myself as too big. So how could I potentially even accept myself in a healthy weight range? But here I am accepting myself. I'm actually more than accepting myself, partially because I'm so grateful for my body, for everything that it did and does for me, but also because my focus is so much out of the eating disorder mindset. I'm not body checking all the time anymore to see if my thighs don't touch, because I know very well that they touch, but it's not my standard anymore. My standard is not my thighs can touch, which it was for such a long time. My standard is not wearing a certain clothes size anymore. It's more like, oh, these jeans are too tight or too loose, so I'm gonna size up or size down. And again, I really understand how impossible it feels when you're still with an eating disorder or when you're just in recovery. But just sharing that hopefully makes you see that there is a way out. For me, it took several years of challenging, and especially and most importantly, staying in that body. Not going back, not restricting anymore. That is probably the hardest and most important part of recovery. Because oftentimes we're eating, we're resting, we're doing all the things, but not going back and giving it time is, again, the most challenging part, but at the same time the most important part. Because not only are you giving your body the time to heal, which, can take very, very long. It won't happen within a couple of months, and most likely also not within a year. And that is okay. Your body is doing an incredible thing, so give it time. The other reason is, the longer you stay in that body and you're accepting it and you're not doing anything about it, you are showing your brain that it is in fact okay to be in that body, and that everything that you believe for so long might not be the truth. At the end of this video, I want to remind you what recovery is actually about. It's about coming home to yourself. And even though you might have never felt home with yourself before, it's still about that. It's about getting to know yourself, understanding who you are without the eating disorder, understanding your values, and understanding how the eating disorder did not allow you to live up to your values, understanding who you are as a person, outside of your body, outside of your ED. For a lot of people, it is about the body, but it's also not about the body. And then oftentimes when we're in recovery, all of a sudden we have this huge urge to be attractive, to not be too big, this fear of what do other people think. And that's where it's always superficial. I'm not saying it's superficial because it's about the appearance, but I'm saying it's a superficial level because all of these things are reflecting on the outside. It's always about the fear of not fitting in, the fear of not being loved, the fear of not getting attention, which are all human needs. We all want to be loved, we all want to get attention, we all want to fit in and we want to be seen. But as long as we're acting out of fear, we cannot be our authentic self. And being our authentic self is what it all comes back to. So if the big fear is, what do other people say? What if somebody sees me and they haven't seen me in a long time and now they're gonna judge me? Well, my first question would be, is that person also caught up in diet culture? Is that person judging you from a place of diet culture? Well, why would you listen to them? Because if somebody is so caught up in the thing that you're trying to get away from, is that really a good person to listen to? And then my second question is, what is the fear trying to tell you? And you have to remind yourself that you don't have to listen to the fear. I know that with emotions and sensations like fear, panic, anxiety, we often feel like a victim to the emotion. We feel like we can't even think clearly. And being able to, in the moment, identify, I'm afraid, I'm fearing something, I'm anxious, and then step out of the emotion is a big skill. And I'm not just saying, oh, step out of the emotion and there it is and it's all good. I'm talking more about what I call radical acceptance. Accepting that the fear is there right now, but that you don't have to act up to it. Accepting that you might be afraid what other people think of you and still choosing to wear the outfit and still choosing to show up as you are. Because that over time creates authenticity and it will help you to finally come home to yourself. I really hope, as always, this video helped you guys. Let me know in the comments if this is something you're struggling with, if you have more questions, if you have other video suggestions, and also let me know if you need more support. I currently have a few coaching spots open, so you can go to my website, my Instagram, my TikTok, reach out to me and we can schedule a free discovery call and see if we're a good fit to working together. I will see you in the next one, guys. Bye.